our people are very serious about not being very serious. Meanwhile, white people are very serious about playing hardball against us. And this hardball is called genocide.
Context of white supremacy. Gus T Renegade.Is in for another program, hopefully to share constructive information on the system of white supremacy. Thank you everyone for tuning in to the program. Before we get started, again, we're broadcasting every day for the month of June. That's the goal. Fundraising for the entire month, hoping that people will invest to keep the cows going. I can tell you right now, there are lots of things on the wish list for the cows. I definitely want to knock out the brand new website, to get that taken care of. Also want to get a mixer that would pretty much restore everything back to normal. We'd have the live sound effects and all that good stuff would be in there. That would be super helpful. I don't really think that's too costly. Also want to get ready to have internet wherever I happen to be at. I've been caught a couple times being out and about where I thought it would have been helpful just with doing programs, preparing, researching. It would be helpful, and we're on the air a lot in an effort to be constructive. So, as I said, just adding things to the laundry list that I think would be constructive. So please invest if you think it's constructive. You can visit Justice's blog as well. Just do justice today.blogspot.com. She has PayPal on her blog site. You can invest there as well if you think the program is constructive. The children's program is this Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. This Saturday, that would be June the 4th. The topic for the children's program this time around, what are some of the just totally illogical, stupid things that non-white children see older victims of white supremacy doing? Because, I mean, obviously we got to be doing a lot of things incorrect. We got to be. And I think it would be very constructive to hear from some younger non-white people who are informed about white supremacy, to hear what they think. What are they seeing? What are some of the things that they're just, my gosh, I cannot believe black people are doing this. Non-white people are doing this in 2011 under white supremacy. I think that would be really constructive, kind of give us an idea of some things that we need to change. And I hope that, there's some things that are maybe not so obvious that, some of the children who do know about racism have been thinking about. So if you know of non-white children who you think, they would be interested in participating, this Saturday, June 4, the program time again, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Pacific. Before that, depending on where you are in the world, it might be the same day, but before that program, we will have a victim of white supremacy from the area of the world known as China. Really looking forward to having him on the program. He is less confused about racism, white supremacy. He, was familiar with Mr. Fuller's work when he got there, Dr. Welsing's work. He says, he's been listening to the program, and he has some really interesting material observations to share from that part of the world. That will be, depending on your area of the world. If you're on the East Coast, it'll be Saturday, January 4th at 1 o'clock a.m., 1 in the morning. If you're Central, it'll be midnight. So that'll be Friday-Saturday morning, midnight. If you're on the West Coast, that would be 10 p.m. Friday evening. 10 p.m. tomorrow evening, we'll have our guest joining us live from the area of the world known as China. And again, if you have questions, people have emailed me some questions. If you have any questions that you would like to ask someone in that area, email them to me. It doesn't, I mean, we are going to go to the phone lines and everything. Just, he said it would help him to codify if, you could give him the questions in advance. That way he can kind of pare his responses down, and he can, be as efficient as possible with words, which is, A plus. But that's tomorrow or Saturday, depending on your, area of the world. Broadcasting every day. Folks have been emailing me. Looks like we're going to have a non-white female from India on the program soon. I'm really, excited about that, and trying to hear from all different parts of the world. I think that will, I have always believed that would greatly fast forward things. So again, if you have suggestions, ideas for programs or guests, some people they've posted stuff on my Facebook page and sent me some emails as well. But if you have ideas, get them to me, especially white people. Really, I think for codification, if people out there are serious about that, it would be best to talk to white people. I mean, that's the whole point of codification to begin with. With that said, I don't think I have any other announcements. The wish list, Amazon.com. Wishlist, Amazon.com. And someone asked me previous program if I had made an effort to get non-white people from the area of the world known as Canada on the program. I have. We have had a white person on from that area, but we have not had a non-white guest who resides in Canada. I recently tried to get a black male who's a professor at a university in Canada who does a lot of work on racism, white supremacy. I will follow up on that again tomorrow. And I believe the victim of white supremacy who hosts racismdaily.com, I believe he also might reside in that area of the world. I'll have to double check. But yeah, he might be, down to come share his views as well and what he's seen in that area. So looking to expand world system, and we should have a global grasp of this problem. I want to do my part to help towards that. Alrighty. This whole program was inspired by Justice, long time here at the context of white supremacy. Justice, are you with us?
Can I be heard?
Loud and clear. Good to hear from you.
Okay. Yeah. Hi. Still a victim. My head hurts really bad, but I'll live.
White supremacy will do that to you. Headaches,
oh, yes.
Blame white people for that, too. I hope you can hang in for a little bit and share, because I thought it was quite interesting how all this got started. Banned.
Yep.
You feel free. Tell listeners about your band class.
Like right now?
Or you can fast forward. You don't have to go into the whole details of everything, but you can fast forward to the song that, brought about this program.
The song, Eye of the Tiger, I have to play that in my band concert coming up June something. I forgot. I think June 9th. I don't remember, but and I have to play that. Last year, the sixth graders, but this year they are in seventh grade. So yeah, last year the sixth graders apparently played Eye of the Tiger, and so now this year we are playing it. And the movie, I think Rocky. I was watching it today. And I believe yesterday, or the day before yesterday, and and it's and at the beginning they were playing the song "Eye of the Tiger," and so Gus gave me a suggestion. Okay, well, how about you play "Eye of the Tiger" on the program? And I was like, oh, okay, all right. And so and then the Rocky movie. It's this white dude beating up black people. That is pretty much what it is. And I think, and then Gus told me, I believe today, that some white people said to a black male, go put that ape back in the cage. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. So, yeah.
Do you think it's significant that, you know, the white people, your band teacher do you have a white band teacher?
Yes.
Okay.
Very racist too.
Wow.
Very racist. Like I'll tell you one time, she, cause like I don't do the Pledge of Allegiance cause, I don't really participate in that crap of racism, white supremacy. So my band teacher, she puts her hand on her heart, I guess, and then she says it, and then at the end she says, "Justice for all," and then and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And so she said, she said justice for all, and then she said it nice and bold and bright, and then she's like, and then I was about to ask her, is there justice here today? But unfortunately, I forgot the question. But once she does that again, I am definitely going to ask that question. And so, yeah.
Do you think it's significant that that song would be played, year after year, different students coming through, and we still got to play Eye of the Tiger?
I'm sorry?
I said, do you think it's significant that your band seems to keep playing that song year after year? We get new students and we're still playing Eye of the Tiger?
Yes, I've been seeing that pattern, yes.
Wow. Yeah, I was, I remember this song. I went to Justice's band concert last year, and she wasn't playing Eye of the Tiger, but...
The year before last year.
Thank you. But it was played. And... man, it was, I was making notes because there were quite a few songs that I thought were, racist, white supremacist. And then, the concert popping up again this year, and, she's playing it this time around. It's like, man, white people stay on there, and young. I mean, we're talking 6th grade. That's 11, 12-year-olds. Yikes. Let's see. I guess if you want to give folks a rendition to show that you do other things other than counter racism and combat racists like Timothy Wise, if you want to give them your rendition of Eye of the Tiger, let them know you've sharpened your skills on the flute.
Yes, I have sharpened my skills on the flute, and meaning play it right now, or?
What do you think? You want to play it now, or you want to wait?
I don't care.
Okay. I'm game ASAP. You want to hear it now?
I guess. Okay. Could you hear this note clearly?
Oh, wow. Excellent.
Okay, great. All right. Well, Eye of the Tiger. that is the end of Eye of the Tiger. Racist song by a white person.
Outstanding, outstanding, outstanding. Context of white supremacy's own Justice. Fantastic job.
The way I was playing it, I wasn't playing the harmony part. Like I was playing it, but I didn't have like everything. Like you would have to have like the drums, the clarinets. I believe the trumpets are the ones who do the I the tiger. That part. But yeah, I couldn't do that part because I didn't have that part.
We thoroughly enjoyed what we got. I have Eye of the Tiger. I guess I could play a little bit just if you think that would help folks to make sure they got it. I'm pretty certain most people who are listening have probably heard that song at least 10 times in life. White people seem to have it playing often, but yeah, hopefully people they got the drift. They know. I recognized it instantly. I mean, excellent job. I thought excellent job.
Yeah, you do not know how many times I have to play it like every day. It gets annoying. It gets really annoying.
Do you think, just based, I know you haven't seen all of the Rocky films, but based on the ones that you've seen and the way that, it portrays black people, what do you think white people are thinking about when they're hearing that song, where you all are playing that song?
Well, I did say, I did say every day, but just on, Mondays and Thursdays. Like today, yeah, I did play it. So, what was the question again? Sorry.
You got white people responsible for your headache. The question, what do you think white people are thinking about when they're listening to you all play that song, or they just hear that song in general? What do you think is going through their minds?
Killing black people, mistreating them, murdering them, lynching them. I mean, like this song and the Rocky, like when I was watching the Rocky movie, they were playing Eye of the Tiger at the beginning. And then they were showing, I believe, Rocky fighting some black people. Yeah, they were showing Rocky fighting some black people, and then I was like, wow, this song is like, this song is all about killing black people.
I will tell you all something that I don't have children. So I'm not accustomed to being around, younger folks, or watching films and analyzing them with younger folks. But I will tell you, having watched a film or two now with Justice, children, they pick up on that. If you explain it, it's all about just being truthful. Don't lie to your children. Be truthful. And particularly make sure you tell them the truth to the best of your ability about racism, white supremacy. But I have seen they pick up on that alcohol real quick. Like once you tell them, oh, that's alcohol that person is drinking, they do the math on that real quick. And I've seen that they generally associate that with crazy behavior. Do you remember seeing any alcohol in this film?
Yes. Like over 1,000 times. Like every single minute, like it would show a person being drunk and drinking alcohol.
Do you remember we were watching the third one when the guy, he got drunk and he threw the bottle of alcohol into the video game and broke it?
Oh my gosh! Yes, I did. Yeah.
And they put him in jail.
Yeah. And then he's all like. And then he's all just laying on the ground like, I mean, he's drunk, White people are the ones who make the alcohol, beer, wine,
That is a frequent tool of white supremacist woman, white supremacist man, the old firewater.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Oh, well. Yeah, I was just about to mention that. Yeah, they gave it to the Indians.
Yep, that's in Planet of the Apes as well. I can make a whole lot of references to Planet of the Apes, where they give Zira, they give her alcohol so that she'll spill the beans and tell them all the secrets. They get her hooked on alcohol. It's astounding. I think a lot of it, when you get older, as I've said this repeatedly, you get more accustomed to the victimization, and so it doesn't stand out as much. I think for children, that alcohol really stands out. Like, wow, there's a lot of alcohol they're drinking again, and he's acting crazy like that. They really pick up on that, immediately. Wow, there's so much in these films. Do you remember anything else that stood out to you, significant?
Yes, the one that I believe we watched today. The recent one, the white person said to the white female, "What do I look like, a something Indian?" And I didn't catch that part. I thought he said,
"Oh yeah, I remember that."
What did he say exactly?
I can play that. I have a sound clip of that, so I'll play that for the audience. This is from the most recent one, Rocky Balboa. This came out in 2006. The character Paulie, he's like the trainer for Rocky Balboa, and I mean he just make racist remarks like every film. He has at least one or two just explicitly, blatantly, no argument, racist, white supremacist statements.
And he is the one who drinks most.
Thank you.
In the film.
Every film. I think the first time you see him, he's at a bar. Like if you go back and you watch Rocky, the first time you meet him, he's at a bar. Let's see. Okay, I have the sound clip here. So this is from Rocky Balboa. Paulie's character, he's talking to what I think this is a white female. He's talking to her. I think the audio should come through pretty clear, so I'll play that sound clip that she's talking about.
Excuse me, deliveries are in the back.
I'm not a delivery guy.
Well, do you have a reservation?
Do I look like a freaking Indian?
Context of white supremacy. Were you able to hear the clip?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, this is racist already.
I see little stuff like that I would have glossed over. Like back when I was in fact, when I was Justice's age, little stuff like that wouldn't have really paid it any mind. I wouldn't have thought it was, anything incorrect. I certainly would have said, "Whoa, that is racist." None of that. Just, "Oh, that's funny." I would have probably laughed with him. Oh, that's, that's just Paulie. That's just Paulie. I mean, lots of that. I'm not, telling anyone to watch these films, but I mean, they just pepper these films with those sort of statements. Wow. Any other notable, I guess, lines or just anything that you remember that you thought really stood out to evidence white supremacy?
I believe Gus told me today in the recent one that we watched, because this movie, the Rocky movie, isn't real. So they have they have Rocky beating up a black male, and then he's Rocky is in the 50s, and so and then he gets up in the ring, and then he starts crying, and he's very, very upset that he can't fight anymore, and what else? Oh, Man, I forgot what I was about to say. Oh, well. Yeah, I forgot what I was about to say. I was about to add to that.
Headache.
Oh, well. I know. Headaches are a pain.
Wow. Yeah, I used to watch these films. What do you think? Do you think this is a film? I'm talking about Rocky 3, so the one we watched before. Do you think this is a film that, we'll say a 10, 11, a non-white child who's about your age, do you think this is a film that is acceptable for them to watch if no one is going to talk to them about it and explain racism, white supremacy?
The answer would be no. No, not at all. Unless I think this movie should be okay. A black female mom that is informed about racism, a black male father that is informed about racism, and if they're going to be watching that with their child, they should be close to them, talking about racism, explaining every single detailed thing that the child or the mom or the dad sees, and just explain it to the child, because these Rocky movies are like racism, like blatant racism, and yeah, I think that they should be close to the child, talking to them about racism in the movie, and let the child ask questions. Yeah, let the child ask questions.
Yeah, I used to watch these films when I was confused about white supremacy, and man, it's not good. It's just not good. And I suspect a lot of people have seen these films, all of them, or one or two, and it looks like it's just harmless. This is just fun. It's just another movie, no big deal. Once you understand racism, white supremacy, I think you'll see a lot in these films. I have some sound clips, kind of give my view on it. We've talked about this film on the program before. Dr. John Hoberman shared his views on this program not too long back. Be the second time we've heard from him this week. Dr. Martin Kevorkian, also admitted white supremacist, shared his views on this film. A lot of white supremacist content, unfortunately. This is kind of a brief, or it's about 20 minutes of different clips. Some of the clips are from the film. You'll hear some other commentary. Jill Scott even makes a cameo appearance to give her views on Rocky Balboa. Should be constructive. I'll come back and offer some thoughts. I'll double check before I play it up. Justice, anything else you want to share about the Rocky films, or anything else, racism, white supremacy related?
The last program that I did with Dr. Martin Kevorkian, a white man, I was being kind and all to him. I didn't mean to do that. I thought he was non-white. But unfortunately, he is a white man, a white person. Yeah, I thought he was non-white at the time, but now I know he's a white person, racist white supremacist.
Yeah, he's an admitted white supremacist.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, he's that's bonkers. Yeah, we'll have to make sure we don't have any confusion about that. I'll make sure I ask a lot of the people if they're coming on and they're a repeat guest. I don't get into the definition and all that because we've done that already, but I'll make sure if we have someone come on, just so there's no confusion, we all, know the racial classification of the person speaking, because that is extremely important.
Yeah, I agree, but I apologize, but I will I will try not. I will try not to do that ever again. Because like Gus said, you said something just like 30 seconds ago. Oh, I forgot what you said. Yeah. What Gus said about like 30 seconds ago. Yeah, I agree.
I think I'm hoping what I said, just the importance of getting that information. Mr. Fuller,
Yeah.
Whether a person is white or non-white, that is critical, absolutely critical information. Mr. Fuller calls that self-defense for victims of white supremacy, to get that information. When I was confused, I didn't see the importance, the relevance of getting that information, but as a less confused victim, man, make sure you get that when you're talking to somebody, particularly if racism, white supremacy comes up. Make sure that you don't have any confusion. Am I talking to a white person or a non-white person? Groovy. Anything else, Justice, you want to share?
Nope.
Groovy. Alrighty. I will get our sound clip up. Again, it's about 20 minutes, all related to Rocky. Then I'll share my notes and hit the phone lines. Hopefully it will be constructive investment of time. This is, context of white supremacy, the Rocky films. As Justice said, blatant, obvious racism, white supremacy. It's dripping off the screen in this series. Context of white supremacy.
Ice like Maple Leafs. There's a hockey team, and I ain't on no hockey team, but I'm a champion. Where's the fucking Rocky team?
Free with the left hand. What's keeping these two guys up? A tremendous posing moment. Here comes Balboa back, but the champion back with another left. Soft the powder. Get away from him. They're getting it, I don't know. A right hand. It's Creed. Now it's Balboa. Now it's Creed. Now a tremendous left by Rocky. They're standing dead in the center of the ring, toe to toe.
Damn. Rest in peace, Apollo Creed.
I was in the club, man. I stopped. I ain't dancing long because I just had a fight recently, and I said I ain't dancing. I went to clubs. You get in a lot. People get drunk, go to clubs and stuff. Fighting. I had a fight with an Italian dude right after around time Rocky came out. Italian, white people, period. Y'all go crazy after y'all see a Rocky movie because y'all believe that shit. Because the movies are so emotional and so real. You sit there and go like, hey, this is real. Yeah, and Stallone have y'all white people pumped, especially Italians. After Italians see Rocky, they come out the movie theater, they be like, after they see Rocky, they come out the theater charged. They be like, all right, Rocco! All right, Sly! Hey! All right, Rocco! Rocco! Go up, people standing on line and shit. Hey, Paisan, you going in to see Rocky right now? Yeah. Great fucking move. Great. You don't like this one. He comes out, Sly comes out, he breaks his big fucking nigga's face. He busts it fucking wide open. Fucking Mooneyard laying on the floor, fucked up. It's fucking great. I fucking love it, man. All right, Rocco! Hey, you know something? At the end of this picture now, just between you and I don't want to ruin the surprise, but Sly wins this one again. You know something? You know what I like about Stallone's movies? The realism, you know? Because, that's the way you got to fucking treat those fucking moolies. They think that they can fucking push you around because you're a big hot shot. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of my face with that shit. That's what I like about Sly. He goes in, and the moolies are beating him, and he don't fucking go down. He's not fucking going down. He comes in, he cracks the fucking moolie's hole like this. He falls on the ground. That's what I like. You know something? You can really do that. You can really fucking do that. You see that fucking big moolie stand over there? You see that black guy over there at the line getting some candy? Yeah, all right. Now, he's about 6'5". I'm 5'2". I ain't no big guy, all right? But I'm Italian. Watch this. You watch this, all right? Hey, excuse me, brother. Hey, let me have a box of Juji fruits and let me have some bonbons. I think I have some bonbons there, and let me have some junior mints and give me another box of Juji fruits and the niggas are gonna pay for it. Excuse me? You heard what I said, Mooly. Pay for my fucking candy. Or I'll kick your ass. Oh, you just saw Rocky. Look, little Italian white man. I enjoy Sylvester Stallone's movies too, but I'm waiting to get some candy. I'm going to go see a movie with my friend. Why don't you just go hop in your IROC Z28 and take your ass home? I'll kick your fucking ass. Didn't they hear that Rocky music? Hour later, woo, 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 woo. He's not going to make it. The big nigger named Abdullah's hand wrapped around his throat. And a box of Juji fruits rammed up his ass. He's not going to make it. He's fucked up.
I did want to point out, because you talk in your book about the psychological damage that white people have experienced as a result of no longer being the dominant athlete. You even pointed out the Rocky films that you felt were an attempt to kind of shore this up and show a white person succeeding athletically. And particularly in the Rocky films, he's frequently, his opponent in those films is frequently a black male.
Sure.
I feel those films, and they just did another one now, there's 6 of them, those films, incredible amount of racism, white supremacy in those films. I mean, it's astounding. In the last film, his black opponent is named, and this is no joke, if you check the last Rocky film, the black opponent is named Mason the Lion Dixon. That's his name. That's his name in the film. But this is not about racism at all. Could you share with our listeners just, some of what you talked about in your book with regards to Rocky and how that plays out in terms of supporting, I guess, the battered psyche of white athletes?
Well, this is a very interesting topic, and I'm glad you brought it up. I mean, there's a couple, I think, major things to point out here. First of all, the white racial superiority complex of the late 19th century really did hold white men out as athletically as well as intellectually superior to black people. And so, as you point out, over that period of time, from the 1890s and then up into the 20th century, there are a lot of white males in particular, and I guess some white females, who had to adjust to the rise of the black athlete and who had to concede pride of place to very tenacious, very talented, accomplished black athletes who were doing things that black people were not supposed to do in a Jim Crow society. And one of my favorite themes is what I call coping strategies. I hope that's the term I used in the book. That whites, in order to deal with the rise of what became known as black dominance in the 1970s, for example, that I believe is when that you have black men finally and very clearly dominating in the NBA. The numbers are going way up in the National Football League. And the term used in the 70s and for some time afterwards was black dominance. And it's clear that a lot of whites are going to have to find ways of coping with the fact that if they're sports fans, they are going to have to consume a lot of sports entertainment that is going to feature people who don't look like them, who do not have white skins. And looking at the way white people have made these kinds of adjustments has been very interesting to me. And I'll tell you, I think in a way, the most fascinating example here is Tiger Woods. I would love to hear what you have to say about Tiger Woods, because Tiger Woods appears to have become accepted in a way that the great majority of very successful black athletes have not been. Of course, there have been racist incidents associated with the career of Tiger Woods. There was the stupid joke in the golf magazine about the noose a couple of years ago. There are white sports commentators in any sport that is televised who simply cannot help making self-revealing remarks that demonstrate their own inability to accept the presence and the success of lots of good black athletes. So in this sense, you can look at white behavior as a kind of sign or indication of how whites in general may be doing in terms of accepting the fact that African Americans are their fellow citizens, that African Americans do work hard and make sacrifices and are patriotic, etc. The one point in the book is that you can use the sports world to try to keep track of how large numbers of people are thinking about race. And of course, this applies to non-white people as well as white. I mean, do you want to give us your thoughts on the extraordinary figure who is Tiger Woods?
You asking me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I mean, I clearly feel, number one, he is a victim of white supremacy, as you pointed out. Many incidents of either things being said. I had actually forgotten all about the whole noose incident where I believe it was a white woman said that joked that they should take him out and lynch him. Fuzzy Zeller's comments about the fried chicken.
That's right.
I do find it very interesting that white people generally reference him as a black person. He has made a big to-do about saying he is, I believe it was Cablinasian, pointing out that, he has a parent, I believe his mom, who's so-called Asian. He's made a big to-do about, saying, hey, I'm multiracial, I'm da-da-da-da. And for white people, that just doesn't seem to matter at all. He is just regarded as a black person. I find that very interesting. But at the end of the day, the fact that he's married to a white woman, for me, for a lot of other reasons, that's something I study a lot. Him being married to a white person is very interesting to me. But more than anything, I view him as a victim. I would agree that he is not regarded in the same way as Mike Tyson was when Mike Tyson was at the height of his career, or Jack Johnson when he was at the height of his career. Certainly he seems to be treated better by many white people than those two athletes, or many other athletes, even currently. Maybe even I would say he's even treated a little better than Michael Jordan. I even think that might be plausible. But I just see an overwhelming amount of evidence that more than anything, he is a victim of white supremacy. With all of the fame and money and success that he has, there's still country clubs that won't even accept him as a member.
Is that really true?
Yes, this has been.
I didn't know that.
Yes, sir. In I believe the area of the world known as Georgia, the state Georgia. There is a country club there that's close to the Masters that he has applied to 3 times and been denied all 3 times. And ESPN has even talked about this. The country club has said that they have denied him because they don't want someone of his stature. He'll bring a lot of media attention, and they don't want all that at their club. White people even published a list of some of the white people who are members of this club, and they have tons of rich and famous white people who are just as media worthy of attention as Tiger Woods. And they were saying this seems like it could be racism, the fact that you're not letting him in the club. So that's why I would say, more than anything, he is a victim of white supremacy.
You see, he don't fight no real man. He fights them setups.
What? You're a disgrace to this sport.
Shut up, old man. You and that chump don't know where I had to come from. Bad boy, your family doing real nice, ain't it? You call yourself a fighter? Prove it now. Give me that same chance. The way he been ducking is a disgrace. If he ain't no coward, why don't he fight me then?
I can't listen any more of this. Hey, anytime. I don't care what your rank. You don't get no shot, and I mean that.
Honey, terminate.
It's over with.
But judge him by my fighting record. Hey, woman. Hey, woman. Listen here. Since your old man ain't got no heart, maybe you'd like to see a real man. I bet you stay up late every night dreaming you had a real man, don't you? I tell you what. Bring your pretty little self over to my apartment tonight, and I'll show you a real man.
You want? You got it.
Well, I haven't seen Rocky 3, but what you just, summarized, and I've seen, parts of it, going through the channels enough to say, yeah, that's right on. And the one I've seen most recently is the Rocky Balboa from around 2007 with Mason, the Line Dixon. And in terms of various ways in which this, film, in Professor Hoban's words, soothes the anxiety of the white audiences about sort of the rise to prominence of the black athlete in the sport, is that, it begins, well, the very first thing is you hear the solid chanting for Rocky, 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 and then you see Mason the Line Dixon punching someone out, but it's all followed by audience dissatisfaction. You think about racial theater. Racial theater is all about an immediate relationship to an audience. And the bottom line message is, look, this is a sport where now it's dominated by black athletes, and therefore the whole sport has been devalued. There's all these commentators saying that nothing thrills us anymore. There's even they say Mason the Line Dixon, he's just beating a bunch of, quote, bums is the term that is used. And that term comes back again later in the movie when Paulie is making racist remarks about a young black man, says he dresses like a bum. So there's a way in which there's kind of even it starts out with kind of a sour grapes relationship of the audience to this sport that, maybe the black athletes are dominating it, but we don't think it's so great anyhow. And so that's why it just sets up for Rocky. We need someone with passion who will thrill us. What I thought was fascinating is that it's first played out via a computer simulation. The computer simulation becomes the stage for that fantasy of racial theater to be staged and imagined first, and it's in that digital realm that it's played out, and the white body is portrayed as containing and triumphing over the threat of the black body, contained within that computer simulation. But again, to go back to the racial theater thing, the thing for me about this Rocky Balboa movie is the cuts to the reaction shots of various audiences and their reactions. It's an ESPN then versus now, computer simulation, and they cut to two different audiences. One is this Irish pub, and it's marked as an Irish pub, and it's a bunch of white people cheering for Rocky and cheering for the people who are saying Rocky is the greatest. And they're all out in public and sort of celebrating this moment of even anticipating the big Rocky comeback. I think it's interesting. I'll just say it's also interesting that it's Irish. It's interesting that Rocky is marked as Italian. You have Rocky and his manager Paulie, who are both kind of marked as Italian American, although Paulie works for Shamrock Meats. And there's a way in which it's not just white people versus non-white people, but it's white people who have a semi-recent anxiety even about their status to whiteness. That is, they're ethnic whites, right, who are wanting to consolidate their access to white privilege or have anxieties about losing it. But anyhow, I see that, there's this kind of Irish-Italian thing. I mean, just as, Mason the Line Dixon is objectified, in that racial history way, it's a strange way in which Rocky also is objectified in an animal way. He's the Italian stallion, right? And the movie, in a way, is about him purifying that. Just as Mr. T is compared to an ape, Rocky is, compared to this, this horse, that would be someone ride the horse or anyhow, but he's got this animal, but he keeps using the phrase, the beast throughout this movie, Rocky Balboa, and he specifically uses it when he's talking to Paulie. And finally, at the end, he says, I finally got rid of the beast. I finally sort of got that beast out of me. Even when he talks about sort of nostalgia about his first fight in Rocky 1, when he's fighting Apollo Creed, he says, I went after him like I was an animal, right? I was fighting like an animal. So he sees himself in those animal terms initially, but I think the movie is about undergoing this violent ritual, purifying himself of the beast, and he does that with the encounter and testing his body, improving his body against the black man. Oh, I was going to say, I sidetracked myself, and then I'll say the one last thing about the racial theater. That ESPN computer simulation has two audiences, right? One is there's featured the Irish pub crowd, and then just sort of Mason Dixon's own crew, just in their own sort of headquarters or space. You don't see anybody publicly sort of cheering for Mason Dixon. It's like the only people who would be his friends who would cheer for him are the ones who are in his entourage. You don't see like any parallel scene of another pub, of any sort of racial makeup where people are cheering for the black fighter. Rocky's all Rocky. That's the audience. That's what the audience goes for.
Plateau, West River Drive, exceeding speed, Hunting's Park, 61st Street, and then all of a sudden, Joe Frazier shoots out the closet and kicks Rocky's ass. And I was laughing. Ain't the mind funny?
Oh, don't you know?
Context of white supremacy. Context of white supremacy. It went right into them calling Mr. T's character an ape. That was no accidents. Context of white supremacy. I have some quick thoughts I will get out about Rocky, just in general, some things about the film series, and then some things about some of the specific films. But, I think justice, a 12-year-old can see what's happening here and wrap this up real quick. Obvious racism, white supremacy, every time out, every one of these films, doesn't matter which one you watch, just like Planet of the Apes. And it's motivating, encouraging, inspiring white people to practice racism, white supremacy, which is exactly why I started with that Eddie Murphy. I think quite a few of our victims, very confused, but sometimes we have moments where, bang, we hit it right on the head. And I think in that clip, got it. I mean, he's being a little silly about it. I don't think it's always, as explicit as that, but I think these films definitely qualify. I mean, I've always felt that super motivational films for white people, the Rocky films. Quickly, the end piece, Jill Scott, that's actually Jazzy Jeff, Jill Scott. I heard that some years ago. I've been to Philadelphia and always thought that was a constructive song. I enjoyed it. And I remembered that the ending, and which is important. That is important in recognizing this film series set in Philadelphia. They made that Rocky statue and invested all that money, and I mean hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think I've even seen reports where Just the maintenance got up into, over $1 million, just the maintenance on that statue, which was just constructed for the movie. Okay. They have a statue in Philadelphia of Rocky, been moved around the city, but they do not have a statue of Joe Frazier. Joe Frazier, real person, not from a movie. Thriller in Manila, fought Muhammad Ali, beat Muhammad Ali. I believe the first time that they fought, he was the first person to defeat Muhammad Ali. Fought George Foreman, former heavyweight champion. Joe Frazier from Philadelphia, real person, real boxing champion. If we want to celebrate boxing, why not put Joe Frazier up? No. We'd rather put a fictitious white man up, to celebrate the spirit of Philadelphia and boxing, as opposed to Joe Frazier. I thought that was Jill Scott, I think, is a lot less confused about white supremacy. She's come out publicly against that sex. Man, right on for Jill. And natural hair, a lot less confused. Okie dokie. My quick thoughts, and then I will hit the phone lines. I know some listeners I have seen, they had commented about Rocky before and said that they thought there should be a program on it. I will say about this series, make sure I have all my lines connected. I will say about this series, it reminds me in so many ways of Planet of the Apes. They make it easy for people to get into these movies, to follow them. The way they start every movie is the way the previous film ended, which is exactly what Planet of the Apes does. Like, they want to make sure that you're not lost, even if you didn't see the last one. It's okay. We got you. Like, just they make it easy for white people to settle in and enjoy and get their motivation to keep on in the system of white supremacy. Let's see. Justice, I had it written down. This is consciously. This is not something that white people, where folks will try to talk about it and say, well, maybe they didn't do that deliberately, or maybe it just happened. I don't think any white people sat down and purposely made a film to denigrate black people. Yes, I think that's what happened with these films. Every time out, I think so. Every time out. Motivate. I cannot overemphasize that white people are really good at being able to motivate people to do things. I think that's a key part of managing, being able to get people to do things. And I have known white people who, when they went to the gym to work out, they would be playing songs from the Rocky movies. That's what they would do to go work out in the gym. And I mean, being confused, I wouldn't have really thought anything about that. If a white person told me that now, I would ask more questions. I'd be, because I would be thinking, wow. I would be thinking of so many things, of them calling Mr. T an ape, of them having him in Rocky 3 grunting at the camera. So many lines from the, I mean, just the entire premise of this, around having the white hope, if you will, to go in and be heavyweight champion. I think you heard Dr. John Hoberman talk a little bit about that, and white people's anxieties about no longer being tops in athletics. I don't think it's anything they're losing sleep over, because they are dominating in white supremacy. And if they didn't want, as I said on the previous program where we were talking about the finals, if they did not want, LeBron and the gang out on the court, they would not be there. This is still white supremacy. But I have seen, I think there is evidence that, white people have been bothered about seeing, black people succeed in anything. Like, they don't want you to win a sweeping contest. So definitely there is a lot of evidence that white people, have been upset about black people dominating certain athletics, just being successful in certain athletic competitions. And I think Rocky is supposed to be a salve for that, and more than anything, to motivate white people to practice racism, white supremacy. I don't think it is a coincidence that pretty much in every film it's every film, a major conflict, a major fight is around a white person fighting a black person. Every film, no fail. The only film that mildly but it doesn't even deviate. is Rocky IV, but it does happen. It happens emphatically. In fact, you have Ivan Drago, that character, so-called Russian white man, kills Apollo Creed, Carl Weathers, black male, kills him in the ring in front of his attempted wife, in fact. After James Brown, my cowbell would be ringing if I had that mixer, after James Brown participates in a minstrel show where he's singing Living in America. Really, I mean, it's kind of hard to watch. if you're more informed about racism, white supremacy, it's hard to watch for a lot of reasons. But I mean, all of this big minstrel show with James Brown and Carl Weathers dancing around to Living in America, followed by a white man beating a black male to death in the ring in front of his wife. No penalty, no problem with that. Like, that's just how it goes. Racism, white supremacy, double whammy. But I mean, yeah, it's consciously racist, not even just with the fights being, a white person against a black person, but I mean, that makes it obvious. But in so many ways, it's conscious, even in the names that they give the characters. Apollo Creed, which I always thought is pretty interesting. It's word of God. Some of the other names I said several times: Mason, the Line Dixon, Mr. T when he's in the third film, Clubber Lang. I mean, just really demeaning. All of the black characters in these films, I mean, they're just that, characters, minstrel. I mean, it's really ridiculous, and it's not an insult of them. It's just the white people who put this project together. I think that's what they wanted. They just wanted black people as clowns. They even call Carl Weathers in Rocky 1 a white man. I was going to sound clip it, but it's quick. He's complaining. He says, what happened to the real fighters? Real, put that in quotes. What happened to the real fighters? All we got now is these JIG clowns. Like he's telling Rocky this at the bar, like consciously racist, white supremacist. Some of the other things that to me really stand out in this film, and it's stuff I had to kind of go back and see it again, being more informed. They are using, I'll say it this way: the religion of white supremacy is on display in these films. Rocky 1, it opens, they are fighting in a church. White Jesus is one of the first characters in the Rocky series, White Jesus. They're fighting in a church. I would have taken a screenshot of it. Once the web page is up, I'll have my photographs back. But when Rocky 1, when it opens, they're fighting in a church. You got a white man fighting a black male in a church with a huge, and I mean a gigantic mural of white Jesus in the background. I mean, that is incredible. Yeah, at any rate, and it is a reoccurring picture, this image of white Jesus being present, and the boxing, gym being where church used to be or where church is, but it happens repeatedly. It pops back up in Rocky 5, where he's lost all his money and moved back. They're back at the gym fighting, and the white Jesus is there looking over all of this. It's just very interesting and purposeful, in my opinion. I mean, it's the first shot that you see in this series where a white man, beating down a black male. And they invoke the religion of white supremacy often in the series. Another point in the film, and this is also in Rocky 5. At the end of the film, in Rocky 5, they are making a conscious effort to degrade the victim of white supremacy, Don King. And people can talk about him and say, he's done incorrect things or what have you, which may or may not be true, but he is a victim of white supremacy. No, I mean, if we're going to line up folks to fuss at and, have some complaints that they're doing incorrect things, it should be white people. The front of the line, we should get to the people who are really responsible, most to blame for things not being correct. White people would be at the front of the line, not Don King or any other non-white person. So Rocky 5, they're just ridiculing Don King throughout. They got this caricature of him, and they at the end of Rocky 5, Sylvester Stallone, he goes to hit the black male, the character that is playing Don King, so to speak. He goes to hit him, and the character, the black man, he says, hey, I have a lot of money. If you hit me, I'll sue. Rocky Sylvester Stallone, he hits him, knocks him down on the car, and as he turns around, a priest gives him a blessing. And I mean, I don't even know what to say. Am I to think, this is not a conscious act of racism, right? This is not the religion of white supremacy on display. What am I to think? At any rate, Christmas, since we're on the theme of the religion of white supremacy and the accompanying holidays and what have you, Christmas, I said this before, any movies where you have a holiday inserted, that is significant. That is, they're layering white supremacy. Now they're investing you in those holidays too. They normalize it and make it, everybody does this. Christmas pops up in Rocky repeatedly. There is Christmas in Rocky 1, there's Christmas in Rocky 4, there's Christmas in Rocky 5. Real interest. Part of that, I think, is just the repetition of the series. Like, this is, they purposely, I think, when I've heard people talk about quote unquote dumbing something down so that it will have mass appeal. I think this is a great illustration of that. They want to make this something that's real easy to follow so you don't get lost. You overstand what this is supposed to be about, which is motivation to practice white supremacy. Continuing on the religion of white supremacy, I just watched Hidden Colors, Tariq Nasheed, Umar Abdullah Johnson's in it, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, lots of Dr. Phil Valentine. Dr. Phil Valentine, he and several other folks in the film, they were talking about the Statue of Liberty, and they were saying that they were talking about, the original figure being a black female and blah, 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 going into all that, and how it had to be changed. And Dr. Phil Valentine, he was concluding by saying that they replaced the face with a white person. And he said it's the face they used is the patron saint of manifest destiny, i.e. white supremacy. And he said, you see the patron saint of manifest destiny, you see it every time Columbia Pictures does a film. They have the white woman at the beginning of their films. This is in Hidden Colors. You can check it out. You'll see him, Dr. Phil Valentine. I believe I'm paraphrasing him correctly. I was watching Rocky, and Columbia Pictures, patron saint of manifest destiny, popped up on the screen. I thought, wow, just knowing a little bit more, you can pick out that racist code every time. This film, and I want to get back to motivating white people to practice racism, white supremacy. In this film, it's prominent. They have so many things that repeat, whether it's the theme song or clothing. Sylvester Stallone, he's in black. He's wearing black leather with a black hat for quite a few of the films. He's wearing the same clothes. A lot of the same actors are in the film. They have Rocky's character, Sylvester Stallone. He trains, right? He's supposed to be the rugged white man. He's not refined. He doesn't have a lot of money. He's supposed to be the regular white man, system of white supremacy. And he's training the first time that he's going to fight this black male who's champion, Apollo Creed. He's training, and he's not training at the gym. He's training at the meat locker. And he's pounding on a side of beef. And I mean, it reminded me of the clip from A Long Walk Home with Whoopi Goldberg. My cowbell would be ringing, where she has the scene where she's talking to the white woman, and the white woman says that her racist husband, that it made his blood boil when the victims were making an effort to counter white supremacy. It reminded me of that scene where he is training to fight this black male, pounding on a side of beef, and it's got blood. He's got blood all over his knuckles, and I mean, just ferocious. I mean, cave mentality. I think Dr. Africa said that. I think these Rocky films I think it's conscious. They make a conscious effort to appeal to the to the visceral nature of racist man and racist woman. Like, they really want them to feel this on a biological level, I think. And that scene of him training in the training in the meat locker and pounding on this side of beef, it repeats. It's not just in the first one. He does it again when he's trained Rocky Balboa, the most recent film, 2006. He does it again. He's training in the meat locker. Beef. Very significant, I think, particularly since he's training to fight a black man. I'm going to take some water. I'm stopped up a little bit. Please pardon. Alrighty. It reminded me of a Dr. Welsing moment. It made me think of the black bull, Dr. Welsing, castrating the bull. And that's what it made me think of, him in there fighting and punching on this side of beef. Let's see, next thing. Got that. Oof. The white woman. Big. If I had number one thing I would want people to understand and grasp about these films, to motivate white people to practice racism, white supremacy. I'm going to make sure I get the music in a minute. I'll go full circle since Justice gave us the flute solo. But to motivate white people to practice racism. Next, like my number 2 would be white women. I met Talia Shire. That is Adrian. I mean, famous for calling out her name, Adrian. She is in The Godfather, which I think is very significant. That is also, I think, a heavyweight film of racism, white supremacy. The fact that they snatch Connie Corleone and have her in this film, I think, is huge. She gives you a phenomenal illustration of white supremacist woman. I would say, particularly if I had to pick one, I would say get Rocky V, a brilliant illustration of white supremacist woman. She stops her husband from fighting. He's going to go back in. They lost all their money, and he's going to go fight more. And hey, wait a minute. You are injured. We are not risking everything. This is not a correct decision. And she uses her words to intervene. No, we are not. This is a dumb decision. This is a dumb risk. This is not what to do. And she does this repeatedly. Black male tries to come in and manipulate him. Intervenes. No way. We are not doing this. You are not going to kill my husband. Get out of here. I mean, championship effort. I mean, when I watched this, it made me think, and I've long felt this, white women, I think, are behind the scenes. They are running the show in the system of white supremacy. People can, agree or disagree, but regardless, I do not think white man and white woman have that much conflict. Yeah, they fight and argue and blah, blah, blah. White people are, they're just violent and aggressive. That's just how they get down. They don't really have that many problems. And the illustration I use consistently, when it's time for a lynching, white people don't seem to have any issues getting their act together. Even if, white men and white women, they don't get along. I don't like you. You don't like me. You're oppressing me. Sexism and patriarchy and blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, when a white woman says, that nigger touched me, they do not seem to have any problems forming like Voltron to take care of that immediately. And the record shows that, whether we're talking about Jack Johnson, Emmett Till, Tiger Woods. At any rate, watching this and seeing her performance, Talia Shire, incredible display of racist woman. And repeatedly, you can watch Rocky III, another great illustration. The backbone, hey, whatever is going on, we need to take care of this. Can't have you acting crazy. Long-term vision, not just looking at, the here and right now. I'm thinking way ahead, 40, 50 years down the road. What do we need to be doing right now to make sure we're going to be straight 40 years down the road? Incredible display. It reminded me, I think, Mr. Nero, when he talked about Beautiful Mind and the white woman being there to support that man. Another excellent demonstration. And again, borrowed The Godfather. Let's see, next up. Got that. And you want to compare and contrast racist man, racist woman in this film, Rocky and Adrian. Compare that to Apollo Creed and his wife. You don't really see them together really much at all. You don't see them together. I don't even think you see very much of her until he gets ready to be executed in the ring. I think that's the time that I remember seeing her most prominently. But yeah, you don't see them, hanging out at all, or any of the black people in this film. You don't see them hanging out with their family and getting to meet their children and uncles and all that. I mean, so I think Dr. Kevorkian touched on that, isolating the black male character. They do consistently. Clubber, Mr. T's character, doesn't have anybody. Doesn't have family or friends. Mason, Lalonde Dixon, another one, doesn't really have anybody, wife, children. At any rate, a minstrel show, I touched on that already. The red, white, and blue is ubiquitous. That's our word of the week at the Cows. Red, white, and blue is ubiquitous in this film. It is all over the place, and it is frequently localized around the genital area. Dr. Welsing a moment, but it's all over the place. They got the American flags, and in the first Rocky, Apollo Creed and Rocky, they fight. It's the bicentennial. That's what they're celebrating, and he comes out in a whole robe of red, white, and blue. And I already referenced Rocky IV. James Brown comes out and dances, and Apollo Creed, he has on a whole red, white, and blue outfit again. They're singing "Living in America." It's dripping with red, white, and blue, which I think is, in fact, this will be, I believe, the second time that I've read this on the program, to borrow from Dr. Cambon, where he has, given a wonderful breakdown of what those red, white, and blue colors mean, as has Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. But this is Dr. Cambon's take on it. He writes, further evidence of white solidarity is expressed by their use of red, white, and blue in the colors of just about every single white corporation business in the U.S. Worldwide, I'm just adding that in. These colors are the code words white people use to communicate with one another. We have been able to decode their secret message, and the following is its meaning. Hey, other white people. I am a whitey who is going into business, and you, as a fellow whitey, better support this business, no matter what the cost to you. If you don't support this business and every other single white business displaying these colors, the black people are gonna overrun us, take charge, and do to us what we have done and are doing and will do to them. So you better disregard any and all of our differences and make sure you spend your money with me so I can do my part to help keep our system of white terror domination rolling. Page 226, Dr. Kamal Cambon. Invest to get him back on the program. July 4th, that's when I would like to have him back for the second visit. Be lots of red, white, and blue on display for July 4th. We already touched on alcohol. I will play some of the sound clips that I think give you a really good glimpse, provide a great illustration of the racism, white supremacy that is just smothering these films. These films, as I said, they're conscious illustrations of racism, white supremacy. This first clip, I just want to play it again so, folks can hear it clean, because I did not hear it clearly the first time through, and the audio was fine. It's a lot of commotion going around when this happens, so I had to play it back a couple times to actually catch it. But I want to make sure that people do get to hear when Mr. T is called an ape in Rocky III. It's just before he and Rocky fight the first time. He's coming down the stairs from his locker room, and the character Mickey calls him an ape. I want to make sure I play that. I want to probably play it at least 2 times so that you all will get a chance to hear it clearly. But yeah, this is that scene. I'll play it right now.
You made me wait too long. You're gonna pay. Come on, Mal. Don't you You made me wait too long. You're gonna pay. Come on, Mal. Don't you You made me wait too long. You're gonna pay. Come on, Mal.
Okay, I think 3 is good. Hope people were able to hear it clearly. It's archived, so you can download it and rewind, or you can watch it, But I think it should have come through clear. Should have come through clear that time. He clearly calls him an ape and says he needs to be put back in his cage. White man saying this to another black male. I don't know. I mean, that's what I said. This is the type of stuff that you just gloss over. Like, people see this and, nobody even says anything about it. Hey, maybe this is not correct. Maybe we shouldn't be, this film came out in the 80s. Maybe we shouldn't be calling, black people, referencing them as apes at all, much less 1980s, referencing a black person as an ape. Some of the other more colorful, actually, to be codified, some of the other more white supremacist moments from this film series. That was from Rocky 3, in case I didn't say it, Rocky 3, where he calls him an ape. This is from a little later in Rocky 3. As I said, Paulie has a lot of moments. Paulie is the white guy who said he was asked earlier, she asked if he had a reservation, and he said, what am I, an Indian? He has a lot of moments where he just makes, blatantly white supremacist comments. And that film came out in 2006, where he made that comment about so-called Indians. Nobody, hey, that's just not acceptable for a film. Nobody steps out to say that, or, hey, this is just racist. At any rate, this is Paulie. He's talking in Rocky 3, and I'll preface this. They're going to train. Apollo is going to help the white guy. He wants to help Rocky avenge his loss to the black male. He's going to help train him so he can fight better and beat this black guy. And so they're going to go train with other black people who are poor and don't have anything. That'll give him the eye of the tiger back. And so they say it's LA. They get to Los Angeles and they're going to train. Paulie gets out and he sees all these black people, and they got the black people looking crazy and sitting outside like they're drunk and on drugs. And he looks around, and before he walks in the gym, he says, man, I don't even have my gun. And he stops and then he walks on. I mean, just crazy racist statements like that all throughout they made 6 of them all throughout. You can pick any one you want and you'll find, lovely racist remarks like that. At any rate, a few minutes after he's made this statement, I don't even have my gun. A few minutes later, I'll just play. You can hear and see what he has to say about music that he thinks black people listen to.
Incubation. That's why we're here, Paulie. Wasting time. He's got heavy feet. Turn the ball with your feet. Come on, relax, Rock.
Come on, get those feet out of the concrete. Come on.
It'll take time, but it'll come. He can't train to the jungle junk music. Come on, relax, Rock.
Here we go. Come on.
Turn the ball with your feet.
Slow balance.
Let your body find the
rhythm. Start a new dance called a brawl, huh? Come on.
I'm telling you, you can't train him like a colored fighter. He ain't got no rhythm.
Right? Come on. I love you. Look great. Everything we do works out the gym. Good. Yeah.
Context of white supremacy. Jungle junk music, I believe, is what he said. I almost thought he was going to get Jungle Bunny in there, but, and it's not just Paulie, so people, if you're thinking, it's just one racist character and they painted him as an alcoholic and a criminal, no. The whole film series is not just one character. Everything about this supports, encourages racism, white supremacy. Again, they have Mr. T, and this was in He was at the height of his career, if that's possible, under white supremacy. And they have a scene where he defeats Rocky in Rocky 3. He wins the title. He's grunting at the camera. He doesn't even have lines. He's just grunting at the camera. At any rate, this next scene, this is actually Rocky talking. I thought this whole scene was really, actually, I'm going to wait. I'm going to save that one for last. I'll give us one more, so we'll get some more of Paulie coming in. He is talking about a non-white male who has a white parent. This is actually a part of the story. You'll hear more about that in the last clip. But he's talking about a non-white male who has a white parent. You're going to hear the non-white male speaking first. He's going to say a few words to Rocky and depart. And then Paulie will offer, his 2 cents about what he thinks about this non-white parent, about this non-white male with a white parent, which is, as I said, that is an integral part of the movie.
Hey, Brian. Yeah. I'm going to take off, all right? Hey, that stuff back there is pretty cool.
Oh, you like that?
Yeah, man.
Thanks, appreciate it.
I'm going to catch you later.
Right.
Who's the criminal?
He's a nice kid.
He dresses like a bum.
Oh, coming from a human hamper, that's quite a compliment.
Hide the silverware.
Hide the silverware. Yeah. At any rate, like I said, Paulie has a lot of those lines. I mean, it's, after a while, you've heard him make, 5, 6, 8, 12, racist comments. It's just like, yeah, okay, got it. Rocky, on the other hand, this is in the same film. This is from Rocky Balboa, the one that came out in 2006. Rocky doesn't have too many of these moments where he's saying anything, that you could say, oh, this is obviously racist. However, cowbell ring, he meets this white woman who she was in the first Rocky. He's talking there, this is 30 years later, so she's grown up, he's older, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, he meets her, and she has a child now. And I'll let the film take over from there. I think it explains itself. But this is from Rocky Balboa. Rocky is talking to this white woman about her child.
Stuff.
What you doing out so late?
Is that your kid?
Yeah, wish you wouldn't stay out so late.
Amazing.
Yeah, what's that?
Oh, last time I seen you was a kid, and now you officially got one of your own. It's amazing. You know, he sort of resembles you. He's got that, big Irish hair.
Yeah, it's the other one.
Yeah?
His father was from Jamaica.
Jamaican, European. Was you on a cruise ship or something?
No, not really.
What's his name?
Steps. Short for Stevenson.
Makes sense. Is he looking like he's mad at me, or is it maybe the angle I'm standing at over here?
No. He's a good kid. You want to meet him?
It's getting kind of late. I got so many things to do.
Yeah, I understand. Thanks again for the ride and everything else.
See?
Context of white supremacy. Just in that little 2-minute clip, in my opinion, it reveals a lot. The assumption that her child was the white child, that's just bedrock aspect of racist code. If you're a white woman, you are not supposed to be producing offspring with a black male. I mean, that is just not supposed to be going down in any great numbers. So yeah, obviously that throws everything off, like, whoa, wait. And I mean, it's obvious. I guess for me, it was obvious. You all heard the clip. Hopefully it was clear. And, if for people listening, it sounded cool. Didn't sound like there was any sort of surprise or discomfort around the fact that her child was non-white, then, please correct me. I'll give out the number so you all can call in and let me know. But I thought it was clear, and particularly if you see this visually, it's clear, like, oh, wait a minute, you have deviated from racist code. And he doesn't even know how to respond. He gives were you on a cruise? I don't even know how to respond to that. Like Jamaican, and it goes to, oh, was he on a cruise? Were you on a cruise or something? Just real interesting. In my opinion, reveals a lot. The child's name is Steps. I said that before. The names that they give the black people, like, what do you do with you step on them? And I say, correct. They're always, they do tell a little bit of truth. White people do have their foot on the back of our neck. So, hey, just make it a little more explicit that that's what you mean when you have a non-white character named Steps in the film. At any rate, yeah, it's a lot. And the little part there, I guess, towards the end of the clip where he says, is it just me, or is it looking like he's mad at me? Like in the film, this male is standing. To me, it looks like he's standing more than 15 yards away. Like there's a considerable amount of distance between them. They're not, close. They're not in handshaking range or anything. Pretty far away, and it's a threat. Hey, is he looking at me tough? And this is a child. This is not a grown up. He's a teenager. At any rate, really interesting. It's lots. This film is just, loaded with racist white supremacist content. You got a black male with earrings on in the third one, and the most recent one, Rocky Balboa, a black male with earrings. Just it's loaded. It is rife with white supremacist content. And as I said, I know when I was more confused, I had seen these films, and none of this stuff, stood out to me as being incorrect or even racist. I probably would have looked at someone strange if they had, said, "Hey, I think these Rocky films are kind of racist." They called Mr. T an ape. I don't even, I didn't hear. I would have probably said I didn't hear that in the film, and so what? So what? They called him an ape. So what? I just would have said something really, really ignorant, I'm certain. But yeah, that's what racism, white supremacy produces. Confused victims who, are looking right at, some of the worst, most white supremacist content imaginable, and they will not understand it at all. Neely Fuller Jr., if you do not understand racism, white supremacy, what it is and how it works, everything else that you do understand will only confuse you, for sure. Last thing I'll get, I think they also have quite a bit of the anti-sexual stuff. Well, I won't say quite a bit, but at least they have a scene. They do. I take that back. They do have, in my opinion, quite a bit of the anti-sexual behavior, and it tends to be focused around the black males. As I said, they got black males wearing earrings. Mr. T has very pronounced earrings in both ears. The black male who it's Antonio Tarver, who plays Mason Lalonde Dixon in Rocky Balboa. He has, 2 earrings in both ears. They also have Apollo Creed kissing a white man. He is so caught up in the moment in watching Sylvester Stallone's character pummel a black male that in his euphoria he has to kiss a white man. And he leans over and he kisses Paulie, the guy who's made all these racist statements, who just, a few minutes earlier had just said, why we got to listen to this jungle music when he's talking to the black people. He's mad because he didn't bring his gun going around black people. Made the comment about the Indians. That's the guy he kisses. Yeah, the anti-sexual stuff, and there's more. Like I said, there's a lot. There's just a lot. You could have pages and pages of notes. You could probably write a great counter-racist book on this film series, just picking out what this says about the psychology of racist man, racist woman, how it relates to what Dr. Welsing says, what Dr. Cambon says. It's a lot. What Mr. Fuller said, anti-sexual behavior, just brought that up. Sexual intercourse with a white person comes up. It's a lot. It's chock full of material. If you know what you are looking at, it'll be obvious. It'll be obvious if you know what you're looking at. With that, I'll check the phone lines and see if folks, have any commentary. I'll give out the phone number. And again, the children's program, I'm really looking forward. As I said, Justice, he always enjoys having children on the program, people that are closer to her age. I do too. I think it's great. I think we need to get younger folks catching this stuff early so that they're not surprised, so that they are looking for it and expecting it. That's what we need to do, the victim side. That's what we need to do that we have not been doing. So that's Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Central. This Saturday, June 4th, children's program. Again, the topic, just, stupid, irrational things that non-white children are seeing older victims of white supremacy, just, stupid behavior patterns that we need to correct. This is not about beating up on victims. It's just about hopefully getting a fresh perspective, hearing from some young folks who haven't, suffered as much abuse from white people. And just hearing, what their observations are, if they're seeing anything that just they scratch their head like, man, I cannot believe we are doing this under white supremacy. So I definitely think it would be constructive. And again, not trying to call names or pick on anybody personally, but just behaviors that they are seeing, things that, they're watching us do, older victims, things they're watching us do, seeing us do that they think are just foolish, that we need to correct immediately. Well, huge part of what has to be done is modifying our behavior. So that's what this is all about. This Saturday, June 4th, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. We have one program before then, non-white male from the area of the world known as China. If you have questions that you'd like to ask someone who is less confused, who resides in that area of the world, you'll have your opportunity. The program time, obviously because of the time difference, it's be a little wacky, but it'll be tomorrow. If you're on the East Coast, it'll be technically Saturday at 1 a.m. If you're Central, it'll be midnight Saturday morning / Friday night. If you're Pacific, it'll be 10 p.m. tomorrow, 10 p.m. Friday, June 3rd. Black male who resides in the area of the world known as China gives his views. He is less confused about white supremacy. With that, I will hit the phone lines. Invest if you think the program is constructive, and I will make sure to get the music. I did not forget the music. A big part of the motivation behind all of this. Let's see. I'll check TalkShoe first. I did Free HD first the other time. I'll check TalkShoe first. The number, if you want to dial in, if you want to call Free HD, the number over there is 760-569-7676. The code 564-943 pound. Give that one more time. The code 564-943 pound, and the number 760-569-7676. All this is in the description at TalkShoe. Oh, it's not in today. It's on Facebook. Yeah, you should be able to get it. I'll repeat it again in a couple moments. Okay, going to TalkShoe first. Let's see. Texas and Raz Heru, did either of you two have any comments, questions you want to get in?
Greetings, Gus, and to all of the listeners out there. Can I be heard?
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, I was listening to your show, and you were speaking of Rocky, and as someone from the East Coast, and you were speaking about the symbolism of this image, and as you said, like, you're right, Joe Frazier and Larry Holmes, they're from Pennsylvania, so they don't have any statues, and these people were real life champions, and they have never have a statue for them. And I remember it, like, going to Philly and hanging out in the Art Museum, where they have everyone that goes there, they always like to go and run up the steps and do the Rocky thing and do all that stupid stuff that you see they do in the movies. So it kind of brings that back to me. But one of the things that you mentioned with the Italian stallion and what they have hidden, and Italians always like to say, yes, they're stallion. They don't like to tell you the origin of the name, where it came from. The origin of the name came from Africa when the Moors invaded the Tariq, where the Rock of Gibraltar get the name from. It was always known as the Rock of Tariq. When he crossed over into Italy, he crossed over the Black Stallion. And that is a symbolism of how Europe, Western Europe, got their coloration from black people. That is why you see in the symbolism, if you look at a Ferrari, they have that Black Stallion in the Ferrari symbol. And a lot of other things that come from the symbolism coming out of Africa, but they would not tell you that, and you would not think that that's where that is coming from. It all leads back to when the Moors invaded Europe and they started darkening the continent. And that is where they get the name Italian Stallion from. And a lot of us, we would think, oh, it just means the vibrancy of these people. No, they're talking about when that black man crossed the desert on that stallion and invaded Europe and put them under the controls of the Africans. But I'm glad that you're talking about this movie, because I have this Italian lady that works in my office with me, and she gets on my nerve because she was talking so much about these Rocky movies, and she's always so glad when they come out, and she's always coming to work and talking all of this mess about Rocky this and Rocky that. And I never liked those movies because, as you said, the black people always get beat up. And they always end up working for Rocky because look what they did with Apollo Creed and Mr. T and all of them. They end up being his biggest champion. After he beat them up so badly, they end up going over to his side and working on his team, helping him, train him to beat up all the black people. So it just never made any sense to me.
If there's ever a point where, you feel like I have forgotten, I am also a victim of white supremacy. If any point you feel like Gus needs a reminder, make sure everybody's, because I say all the time, I'm a victim. I used to be super confused. I'm still confused. I ran the steps in Philadelphia where the Rocky statue is.
I never did it because I never did it. But I've seen everyone go there. That's the first thing they do. They get up there and then they put their hands up in their hair and then they jump around and they do the Rocky thing. Well, we're all been victimized, so at least you realize what it is and you're coming out and you're teaching the rest of us. So thanks for having the show. And hello, Pam, if you're out there.
Yeah, greetings, Justice. I didn't have anything. I'm just pondering on the points you made tonight. But that's funny that you ran the stairs.
I took a picture and everything. Pam, your line is open. I guess Lady B. If you don't have anything to say, you can let me know and I can mute your line. Massachusetts and Lady B. Moore, your lines are open too.
Good evening. This is Pam. Good evening, 404, Gus and Justice, and all the other callers. I just wanted to backtrack on what 404 said. And have you ever noticed there seems to be a real direct connection between what you might call non-white Europeans, European people who are not considered white by the white Anglo-Saxons, like the Irish and the Italians and the Polish and the Greeks, because they always seem, in my opinion, to be distinctly very aggressively racist. And I always felt that, well, I didn't always feel, but I feel that the reason is they don't want anyone to make the connection between their origins. Like the Irish weren't considered white. They didn't become white until they immigrated to the U.S., and they were used as foot soldiers for the real whites to help, it was like a deal they struck with the so-called real whites to help them keep the Negroes down, and in exchange they would become honorary whites. And I believe the same thing is true for Italians, for Greeks and Polish. They're really not considered white in the real sense, because when you look at what Adolf Hitler did, he was after the Semites, and the Semites are mulattoes. And he didn't care about the religion. He only cared about the fact that they were considered non-white. So I just find that there seems to be a real big connection between these non-white, or should I say honorary white groups, and their racism toward black people. It's like they do not want anybody to make any connection that they really aren't white people. And I just want to have anybody else notice that.
Yes.
And the Italians and the Irish and all
the Greeks.
Uh-huh.
All of them who have been hit with the, as they said, the tar brush, that try to disassociate themselves, and they're the most vicious when it comes to the racist attitude, because we only have to look back at the Civil War, when they had the draft riots in New York and all along the East Coast with the Irish, that they felt they weren't going to be fighting to give black people their freedom when they didn't have their freedom. And that's a part of history that's written up right there. They had when all those black people, they were burnt out and they were killed in New York because they had the draft riots.
You know, have you guys ever heard of this? I had a friend mention this to me today, and he said that he looked up, he was researching, I suppose, and he had something to do with the word German. And he said that, well, one thing I did know, and that was that according to medical journals that go back into the 1800s, venereal disease and drunkenness was rare among slaves. So obviously this venereal disease thing got started with our contact with Europeans, particularly during slavery. And he said that was one reason that the Germans, the word German, if you look at it, is germ, man that carries germs. And so I just wonder if anybody else ever heard that, because I'd never heard that.
Yeah, I heard it.
Really? Okay. That was the first time for me. But, when you look at most words, they exist for a reason. And a lot of times we just take them for granted because we hear them, we don't think about them. But most words have some basis in origin. I mean, they were created for a specific reason. So.
You're right. You just have to look at Columbus. Remember when Columbus and his tribe came to the New World, the so-called New World, remember how they decimated the natives with their diseases, and that's the result that they had to end up going back to the African continent and bringing us over here because of what they did with all of their venereal diseases and everything else they brought from Europe.
Right, wiped them out. One thing that he added, and this is I'll just say it, and he said that that is part of the reason for in his belief, that's part of the reason there's so much venereal disease within the black community today is due to our interracial sexing of each other, particularly the males with the white females. And so I just throw that out there as something to think about. We didn't have venereal diseases. They were pretty rare in Africa, and now they're up the wazoo. So what's the connection? So that might be something to think about the next time you see Miss Cutie Pie walking by. You might want to think about that.
Well, remember the bestiality and all of those that they involved with their domestic animals as a result of them not wanting to impregnate their women. So they turned to the animals and young boys, and that's where all of these diseases came about. So they end up giving it to the women, and then the women associating with other people and passing this nastiness on to the rest of us.
I just find it's really interesting. I agree. I just find it interesting that we come from Africa with very few diseases, and now according to the Disease Control Center, now we have the most diseases. And so what is the real origin of these diseases, and what is our lack of awareness doing to us as a collective? And I'll listen now. Thanks.
Did any of the other folks that called in, did you all have Lady B. Moore or Massachusetts? Oh,
I'm just listening right now.
Yeah, same here. I'm just taking in all the knowledge.
Non-Mighty Wick and 5597. Did either of you two have questions or comments? Okay, I assume they're listening. I did want to make sure I got in also. This is like, to say that it is unrealistic boxing is an understatement. I'm not encouraging anyone to watch boxing or participate in boxing. I've heard Mr. Fuller say that it is monstrous behavior, and that either he observed or read a news report where someone died boxing, and he just thought that is ridiculous. That is a total disgrace, a total waste of a person who could have, solved the problem of white supremacy, which I think is totally true. But I also wasted a lot of time watching boxing. And if you've seen real boxing to then see this, I mean, it is absurd. You'll never see anything, real boxing that looks like this. I mean, it is crazy the lengths that racist man and racist woman have to go to give you, a package where a white person is, dominating a black male in a boxing competition. Like it's absurd. In fact, Tommy, if you see Rocky V, that one, Sylvester Stallone, he's supposed to be training this white fighter. Tommy Gunn is his name, phallic symbol, Dr. Welsing moment. But yeah, Tommy Gunn, he's supposed to be training him to be the next champion. And he's a real boxer, this guy. Tommy Morrison is his name, Tommy Morrison. And I remember he was supposed to be a top fighter, and he fought this black guy. And I was confused. I was way confused about racism. But he fought, Ray Mercer is the black male's name. Ray Mercer, black male. They fought, and man, the black male beat this white guy. And I mean, it was one of those where, for people who watch boxing, if you get hurt, the referee is supposed to hop in and stop everything. All right, that's, enough of that. Match is over. The guy's hurt. He can't defend himself. For whatever reason, that didn't happen in a timely manner in this fight. And so the white guy, Tommy Gunn, this guy who's supposed to be the champion in Rocky V, is getting pummeled. He's not defending himself, and the black male is just bam, 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 bam. And he didn't, for whatever reason, the ref didn't intervene. So it just went on for a while. It went on longer than it should have. And the announcers were, oh my God, that is terrible. And at any rate, I say all that to say this is really unrealistic boxing, like extraordinarily unrealistic boxing.
Well, white people have always been looking for the great white hope. That's what they call it. Always trying to find that boxer. They thought they had those two Russian brothers who were out fighting. They thought the Klitschko, whatever their names are, they thought they found it with them. And so they will keep searching.
I'll also make sure I get in that clip, Dr. John Hoberman, where he brings up Tiger Woods. That was before the divorce, the crash with the Jeep. It was some months before that incident happened. So that's happened a few times now, where someone came on the program and said something, and then it became a lot more interesting down the road. I think Michael Bradley came on and made some interesting comments about Henry Louis Gates about a month or so before the whole he got locked out of his house at Harvard. So, yeah.
If you look at, like Gus, you were saying with sports, if you look at our history when it comes to professional sports and the new plantation, as you said with Dr. Hoberman, what he stated in the few clips that you played by him, it's the truth, because if you go all the way back to our history, and most people don't know the Kentucky Derby, it started out with block jockeys. And because these guys, they were winning so much and they didn't like it, and they were able to buy homes and do things for themselves and their families, they formed a union. The white jockeys, they formed a union. They started sabotaging the horses. They started doing things to the animals to shut these black people out. And they said the last derby that ran with a black person in it as a jockey, I think it was in 1904, somewhere around there was the last race that they had. So they live up to their name with a race. They're always racing to keep everyone else out because they know the minute they let us in, the field is they're automatically going to be decimated by it.
Yep.
And that statement that Dr. Welsing said when she was on the last program, that she said I am racist in the phrase America, that is very, very profound. And I made a sticker and I have it stuck on my computer because I would have never thought to unscramble that word and come up with that phrase in it. And it showed the whole ideology behind its name and how this country has been set up and what they have been doing ever since the so-called founding of it and the naming of themselves America.
You can. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I just wasn't sure if I was muted or not. I was just going to tell 404, I read the same thing about the jockeys. You know, it's amazing how many times black people have been, when black people get involved, they excel, and then the rules get changed, such as in sports also. And if you're really successful and you're not doing what they want you to do, like with LeBron, I mean, it's really something.
That is one of the reasons why the Native Americans, they said the title that they used to call themselves before the Americans came over, they used to be known as We the People. And the Americans took that and put it as a form of the Constitution when it says We the People in order to form a perfect union. He said that was the name that they used to call themselves. They said they never called themselves. This person that I was telling you about, I gave you his number to call Gus for him to come on the show from the Lakota Nation. He said that is what they used to be referred to as We the People. And he said when the Europeans came and took that name and put it into their constitution, he said that is when they decided to go ahead and they came up with all of these other different tribal names. So they said they were never referred to themselves as a Cherokee, a Iroquois, none of those things. They were always called We the People.
I was going to say, you see evidence. Again, it's, being confused about racism, white supremacy, or just lacking information. There's a lot of evidence of black males as jockeys. White people have those little lawn jockeys in their yard. That is what that's in reference to. You see those. I've seen them before. I don't know if folks see them, but that's what that's in reference to. White got to be racist. Got to be racist. We'll have a little lawn jockey and sit that out on our front yard.
Yeah, I forgot about the lawn jockeys. You're right.
You can't run in the Kentucky Derby, but we're going to make a statue of you and put you in the yard and have the dog use you as an outdoor bathroom.
Do you think there's any connection with, like, the Polo brand? Because that has a, long jockey.
Remember, the jockey that they have is a white jockey. The white horse for the polo.
Yep. Texas, you have some distortion in your line. I'm not sure. You were fine before, but now it's there's a lot of distortion. Yeah, I need to look at the Polo logo again. I mean, I would, Dr. Welsing, you got the phallic symbol with the mallet, I guess, that you use to strike the ball. A lot of phallic symbols, a lot of Dr. Welsing in there with the polo. But I have to look at it again.
Yeah, I can't even get myself to wear polo again. I used to, like, when it came to polo, oh my goodness. I spent my money on that. And now I can't even, I look at it and I just, I got to put it down. I can't do it. or something, something's telling me that it's not right or it's incorrect.
Being counter-racist can save you a lot of money. You start buying a whole lot of crap when you start thinking about what are you trying to prove and who are you trying to prove it to. You say, I'm serious. A lot of money. I mean, who needs designer clothes? I mean, what's that all about? You just find that counter-racism can be very, very, make you very thrifty.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree as well.
Even the game playing polo itself, most of the horses involved in the polo, they are black, they're dark in color, they're either black or brown. These men that sit beside them, they have to wear white shorts or white, whatever you call it, those legging things that they put on, that they're sitting across the back of these big, powerful horses, and they're using a mallet and they're chasing, isn't it like a white ball or a colored ball that they're trying to hit into this hole or whatever it is, this circle? If you don't, I've never seen a white horse in a polo match. I've always seen they're always either gray, brown, or black.
I never understood the polo craze.
White people. White people. I mean, that's a lot of this stuff. That's a lot of why we're doing probably 99.9% of the stuff we're doing, white people.
So fast, is this what domination looks like?
Unfortunately.
That would make a great ad. That would make a great counter-racist ad. Have a bunch of people in designer clothes and ask that question. That's great.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to have to steal that.
I like bathing apes. Black people wearing bathing apes. This is what domination looks like. And then you can have like a Planet of the Apes book, like at the bottom of it, like bang. Because white people have got to be cracking up. Like, man, do you see this? We have got them rocking. They will pay $100 to wear bathing apes. Man, we are clowning.
Oh, they got me. Oh, my goodness.
Get them in all different colors, a bunch of black folks in all different color polo outfits, as you can hold the Planet of the Apes. Taking a picture.
Oh, wow.
I mean, y'all, really. I don't think I could take it. So if that happens, please believe,
wow.
I couldn't look at it.
Wow. In a way, it makes me think that, like, whenever I used to wear polo, I branded. You know how, like, when you brand a horse or when you brand something, like, I felt branded, as if I had to do something to prove myself to them.
In a sense, you are.
I mean, they're the mirror that we look at. I mean, we look at them to see what's reflected back. And so we don't even see what's in the mirror. Their face, their expression, their judgment has been our mirror for a long time. And it's time to break that mirror and save some money.
This is true.
But that's just the thing that her recital that she has to play that Rocky theme song. I thought that you can play whatever it is that you want to play, that you have the option of picking a song and playing it.
This is not a solo. It's a concert band. So she's part of a group of students, and the white teacher selects, the songs that the group is going to play.
Well, I'm glad at least she's playing the flute, because people like to give white people credit for all of these musical instruments that they have. All of those instruments came from the African continent. The flute, the reed, all of those things came from Africa. Because they seem to forget that they were in the Dark Ages before black people came from Africa and brought them into the Age of Enlightenment. They always forget that part of their history.
Enlightenment is in the word guide.
Yeah, I know. I heard you mention it last night, and you were giving a definition, but I'm speaking in reference to them coming into enlightenment, but they always try to use it back on us and say it as if though we need to be enlightened. But they were the ones who were in the Dark Ages because they had all of these periods that they call themselves Europeans that they went through, and one of them was the Dark Ages to the Enlightenment period, which has to do with when the Moors came to Europe.
Dark Ages is in the word guide too. It says, do not use this term, underline. When others use it, ask for a detailed explanation that you can easily understand. What exactly is age that is dark? How can age be dark? Why and how did someone decide to start using terms like the age of enlightenment? Notes. During the existence of the system of white supremacy, the use of the word dark is often intended to cause people to think, speak, and act or act as if dark means the same as tragic, evil, dangerous, destructive, etc., particularly when dark or darkness is associated with the physical appearance of people. Neely Fuller Jr.'s Word Guide.
That's a good point to make, but the only time I ever use those phrases, dark and enlightened, is when I refer to the Europeans. Because that is what they were. They were dark, and then they became so-called enlightened, as they like to. That's what they call themselves. Thus, I was going to ask you, is the person that Kim Kardashian is she's getting married to, is he a non-white or is he a white person? If you keep up with these sports people.
I haven't seen the person. I would need to see him. I'll see if I can locate him online and offer my opinion.
Because one picture he looks as if though he could be classified as white, and then when I saw another picture of the two of them together, he looks as if though he could be a non-white. He's like that, that ball player. What is he? He plays for one of those teams that he said his father was his coach. I forgot his name.
Chris Humphries? Is that him?
His name is Humphries. Chris Humphries.
Okay.
With a K.
Okay. The fellow that I'm looking at, if this is him, he looks, I suspect white people would say he is not white. If I was around him, I suspect this person is, I would suspect that he is not white unless, I'm confused or I got a bad photograph. I would definitely ask. Because I could see racially ambiguous people. I think both of them, aren't both of them like people, I've heard people that are confused about her, whether, she's accepted as a white person.
Well, she's Armenian. She claims to be Armenian. Her father is Armenian, and they're one of those that was painted with the tar brush, so to speak, and they recently got their white cards because they're considered part of the Turkish Empire. Armenia used to be part of the Ottoman Empire.
Man, I would say ask a white person. That would be best. Ask a white person. Non-white people don't get to make that decision about who's white and who is not. So I would, I would ask some white people and see what they say. See if they think that they're white. And I would ask it just that way. Do you think that, Kim Kardashian, do you think she's white? Do you think this guy, Chris Humphries, do you think he's white?
Okay. Because I know judging from her past history that she's always hanging around with non-white males, and all of a sudden this individual showed up. I just thought maybe she probably took the possibility he's also a non-white.
It seems like sleeping with non-white males, these, what I would call these manufactured non-celebrity celebrities, I said non-talented celebrities. It seems that's kind of almost a hip thing to do now, is sleep with a black male. Not necessarily marry one, but sleep with one. So that seems to be kind of almost like street credibility or something. I don't know. But I've noticed a couple of non-white, honorary white females have seemed to have gone down that path. And they get attention for that. And they get money after they get the attention. So maybe it's a career move for somebody who doesn't have much talent in any other respect.
Because the reason why I said attend what you were saying, because when it comes to white male and their women who they know has been around the block with other non-whites, they're very, very skeptical of marrying white women who they know had children by non-white males or were sexually involved with them. And that was the reason why I asked if this person, he was also a non-white. Because they would not come behind a black man or a man of color. White men be like that.
I've thought that, but then when I saw Ben Affleck and J.Lo, I knew they weren't going to get married because I figured his family was not going to go for him marrying a Puerto Rican. So it seems like it's a good way that it kind of rubs off on him to some degree when his career was kind of waning. So it's kind of like you would think that a white male wouldn't go behind her, but perhaps it depends on what the agenda of the white male is. And if he's trying to get himself a little bit notoriety or whatever impression he's trying to make on the public, maybe he's willing to do that, particularly the younger ones. So, because Ben Affleck was in the media constantly as long as he was with J.Lo.
That's true.
So it kind of renewed his career. So it's almost like J.Lo got a boost off of P. Diddy, and Ben Affleck got a boost off of J.Lo, who wasn't J.Lo before she slept with P. Diddy. So the only person left kind of holding the bag is the black person, who really doesn't get anything out of their association with these white people or these honorary white people. It seems like they're the ones that benefit. I mean, I don't know. That's just my impression. I could be wrong.
That's a very good point. He went ahead and he married a white female, even though her name is Jennifer also. Yes, I thought you and Dr. Wellington was going to do the movie on the, what was that movie that you had watched and we talked about 2 days about? You sent her a copy of the tape.
Revenge of the Nerds?
Yeah.
I mailed her the copy of the film. She got it. She just said that her schedule had been busy and she hadn't been able to watch it. But yeah, she has it. I was hoping that she would be able to see it before she came on the program last time, but it didn't happen. But hopefully she will not forget. She'll slip it in when she has a moment and check it out. But I don't know if she remembers, but we talked about it for about an hour, and it was making sense. Like when I was explaining it to her on the phone about they burned the cross in the yard and all the things that happened in the film. It was making sense. So hopefully it'll go down.
I like the prayer that she had, the one that she came out with. Just when she started saying the prayer was when my phone cut out. But I have it on tape, so I don't know if someone was playing with my lines, and I had to call back into the other line. But when she started saying the prayer, that was very profound. I have to write that down and stick it to my computer also.
Yeah, I enjoyed the prayer myself. I'm thinking about just writing it down, memorizing it, and just using that as armor for when I go out there.
Yeah, self-affirmation. That's why I wanted to stick it on my computer, so when I look at it while I'm doing what I'm doing, I could, as you said, memorize it and just keep it as an armor protection
what's going on out of your end, Gus? I'm sure there should be lots of racist activities going out your way. That has not been in the news.
In Seattle specifically, trying to think. I can't recall anything like explicitly racist. I think the last thing I recall that explicitly racist, not to me directly, just in the news and what have you in this area, there was an enforcement officer. He was recorded beating a non-white person, and I think they even got some audio of him making some racist remarks as he was administering the beating. But he wasn't, of course, he was not disciplined. Nothing happened to him. I read that just like a week or so ago. Trying to think, what else in this area? Trying to think. I don't really call anything out of the ordinary in this area in the last couple days, last couple weeks or anything. I'll double check though. I'm at my computer. I'll check the news and see. Has anyone caught anything racist? While I'm saying this, the codified news articles, I thought that was great. Like if there was a website, I'll say that again, if there was a website that had news articles, but they were already codified, that would be fantastic. Like I would read those on the program pretty regularly. And I would direct a lot of confused victims, because I think if there was a site that you could go to and get regular news updates, or a lot of sites where you could get regular news updates about things happening in the world, but it was codified, man, that would be fantastic. So if anybody, looking for constructive things you can do to fight against racism, white supremacy, I think that would be one. And even if that doesn't happen, I definitely want to continue doing that when we have the codified language programs. People finding articles, codify the language, and call in to share. I think that would be great. Like you can, I'll try and announce when we have codified language programs. I'll announce them some days in advance, so you'll have time. You can find one and write it out and save it, so it won't be, you don't feel like at the last minute you got to try and find something and fish it out. But I thought that was really constructive. I thought that was a great part of the program yesterday. And again, if anybody, thinking you might want to blog or something, that's something I think would be really constructive. A codified news, counter-racist codified news site.
Okay. Speaking about codified languages, I was just pulled up not my web page, but on the internet, and they were showing, they said Nowitzki map sticks it to the heat with game 2. So of course they have the Great White Hope as being the one to stick it to the heat.
Racial theater. Yeah. Racial theater. I'm so glad I did not see any of the game. I didn't watch any of it. I got some exercise in before the program and was in doing some preparation. I did not watch any. I'm just glad that I had something more constructive to do during the game, where I could say I was working on something related to replacing white supremacy with justice, as opposed to watching the game. I wish a lot more non-white people, you don't even have to protest. It doesn't even have to be about, oh, it's entertaining and it's this, but just, priorities. This is war. Got to be on the counter-racist grind.
Because, as you said, I never really thought of it until you mentioned it about with the trophy ball that is passed from one white person. David Stern gives it from one owner. He gives it to the owner. He doesn't give then the owner in turn might pass it on to the MVP, and they might take a picture with it, but it's typically passed to the owner of the team.
Which will invariably be a white man. They don't have, I was checking that before the program in basketball. Michael Jordan, that's it. The Bobcats, other than that, you don't have any non-white people that own pro basketball teams, and the Bobcats are not going to be winning a championship anytime soon. So, it'll be a white person for the foreseeable future.
He said they'll wait until he gives up ownership stake and then he'll come into it.
It's sad to know that you have to literally be Michael Jordan in order to be an owner.
Did Bob Johnson sell his stake? He was also part owner of it as well.
That's right.
White people took that. They took that, and then I don't know the whole transaction, but somehow because he used to own the Bobcats, that used to be his team, but white people ended that, and then Michael Jordan came in the picture. The person that called in from California, did you have a question, comment?
Greetings, can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Greetings. It's hard to hear on my computer, the talk shoe. So, I had to call in because I couldn't really hear. Did you guys see the, I guess they're coming out with a show with Ice-T and Coco?
Oh, wow. Cowbell again?
Are you serious?
It's called Ice-T Loves Coco.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
Wow.
White people have too much fun. They have way too much fun.
They're on the job, though. They're on the job. I mean, they're stepping it up. I mean, they're coming at us with, they're firing both barrels now. I mean, just one interracial sex thing after another. And when they show black people, generally speaking, there's very little love. That's even if we're sharing the same screen together. I mean, they're really working on the minds of people. And we all got to work harder. We got to really get on our game. Because
we shouldn't even done any of these shows to begin with, Pam, because it makes no sense. All of these housewives shows that involve white female, they're all married, they all have spouses, but all of the ones with the black females, they all catty, they loud, they obnoxious. I'm glad they finally got rid of one of the Atlanta housewives. They got rid of Nene, the big, the tall female. They got rid of her.
The one that's on Donald Trump's show?
Yeah, they said she was fired and they had someone else to take her place for the next season. But it still doesn't matter because on the show they only have 2 black females that are married. It's the one that got married at the end of the show, and Fedra, whatever her name is, that's the attorney.
Mm-hmm. Look at what they do too. If they have a show, they had some new movie or something. I refused to watch it on VH1 or something. Some movie with 2 black females, both light skinned, and with a white female. Of course, for some strange, odd reason, you can't have black females in a friend group without a white female being there. But of course, when white females have a friend group, there's no black women. But black women, it's almost like they're telling black women, you have no space that we are bound to respect. Wherever you go, we have the right to be there. And so they keep inserting these white females from central casting and pretending that these relationships are colorblind. But if they were so colorblind, when it's time for the white females to have their show, they'd have black female friends. But that never, Sex in the City, you can go down a list. They never have black female friends, but there's always that random white female that's injected. So it's kind of like they're just telling black women, you don't have anything that belongs to you. Whatever you have, we can take. We can take your babies. We can take your men. We can take your breasts. We can take your butts. We can take your lips. You got nothing that belongs to you. And we can not only take it from you, we can get folks who look like you to agree to it. So it's just really, it's really very tragic and sad because personally, I have never seen, this is my opinion, I have never seen so many young black women, and black women of all ages, particularly women under 40, being so low self-esteem. It's like they've just given up. They put the stuff on their head and they just given up. Like their expectation level is almost zero that they have a place in the lives of black men. They almost don't believe it anymore. Because if you watch television, you would think black women are totally unnecessary and unwanted in the lives of black men if you watch the television. And that's what motivates me to do what we're doing personally. That's what motivates me, is that we're in the midst of a very vicious war, and we're literally putting our guns down and taking the bullets out for them. And that's got to stop, because black man, if you're listening, you can't make it without me. And for the sisters listening, we can't make it without them, but I guarantee you we can't make it without each other. And our numbers and statistics are proof of that. I got a cousin, my cousin's son, lawyer, can't find a job. Another one, these are all college degree black males that I know can't find a job. So this interracial thing has done nothing for black people but make us more confused and more divided and an easier target. So I'm just saying, black people collectively, we better wake up and start paying attention. There's people that's mistreating you are now showing you images of you being with them. What does that tell you? It's against your own self-interest. Because they wouldn't be, if they're mistreating you on one hand and putting you in the bed with white people, those two things are mutually incompatible. Anyway, I'll move on. Somebody else say something. I just had to say that.
I wanted to make sure I got our news report in. Very important. I'm actually going to see if I can codify as I go, because I thought that was so great from yesterday's program. People were really on the money with that. This is from racismdaily.com. Racismdaily.com. Court allows Tennessee inmate to fight for racist literature as part of his religion. A convicted murderer has won the right to argue to a federal judge that he should be entitled to receive hate-filled white supremacist material in a Tennessee prison because it's part of his religion. A federal appeals court ruled Wednesday that a lower court should not have dismissed Anthony Hayes' lawsuit against the state of white supremacy and its system of greater confinement. The 6th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals wants the lower court to address whether barring Hayes from receiving mailings violated a federal law that strengthens religious freedom in greater confinement. The enforcement officials have argued that white supremacist literature poses a security risk and should not be in the hands of a violent felon held in maximum security. The 54-year-old inmate is serving a sentence for first-degree murder, aggravated burglary, and 2 counts of felony escape. He is currently being housed in the Morgan County Correctional Complex in Wartburg. Hayes filed a federal lawsuit in Knoxville in 2006 when officials at Brushy Mountain Correctional Complex barred him from having the materials. A spokeswoman for the Tennessee system of greater confinement said officials try to make sure inmates get legitimate religious materials, but we do have to weigh certain activities against the safety and security of the institution. Very interesting. The religion of white supremacy. The religion of white supremacy. That's all I have to say about that. I did want. Oh, go ahead. I
was going to say, I'm glad you did that, because I wasn't really sure yesterday when you asked for the articles exactly what to do. Now I see what you did. So yeah, I got it now.
I think a lot of people were, kind of feel, and I mean, there is no, whatever. There might be some words that people heard that I read that they say, oh, I would have codified that too. Or, and you don't really know which words I codified. I suspect if they didn't say white supremacist. But, yeah, it's, just whatever words you think. And again, the criterion I think I said yesterday was just, use whatever words you think would be most correct, the words that would be the most accurate to use. If you think some of the words are not the best, just swap those out. Any of the words that you think need to be changed and improved. I did want to get in if anyone had any thoughts. If anyone heard Justice's flute recital, that would be good if they had any thoughts on the flute. And I also had a question. The question. I'll hold on the question. Any thought? Did anyone get to hear Justice on the flute earlier?
I didn't.
I did not as well. I was tardy. So apologies.
If I did, I got a chance to hear it.
Oh, right on. In the archives, no worries. Okay. Yeah, I did. I had a question. I forgot my question. It was related to something we had talked about earlier. I'll think of it in a moment. If anybody, feel free. If I think of it, I'll let you guys know, guys and females.
Hey, Gus, I thought you were supposed to do a show with Dr. Cambon's son from the continent. Whatever happened to that show? Did it get canceled?
I contacted him, and we had the date and time set up, and I emailed him, and I didn't hear back. And I emailed, and still didn't hear back from him. I still haven't heard anything from him, so I hope he is, doing well. System of white supremacy things, do come up, and he's in Ghana, so there's a considerable amount of distance between us. But yeah, just haven't heard back from him. I don't know if he changed his mind or,
Did you ever get in contact with the individual from Sweden to find out what was going on with him, how his situation has played out, if it's any better?
He emailed me about a week and a half after he was on the program, and he said that he'd gotten a lot more attention. People, found out about what happened. The university kicked the guy, the racist, who put the poster up with him as a slave. They kicked him out and were really supportive and told him, that they were not going to tolerate any sort of racism. And they were, behind him, all the way, and we're sorry that this happened. And, we're going to take steps to make sure that, people know that this is 100% not acceptable. So he was, he seemed, pleased. He felt like they were, it seemed like from what he said that they were, taking the correct steps to, solve this problem. So, yeah, I can check my email, see if I'm omitting anything. I'm looking at the email now. The university, they suspended the racist student, and they also he said that they will be filing a police complaint against that student, and they will be writing a press release denouncing the attacks against him. So he was quite pleased, and again, he said that they had, said that they were going to make sure that everyone knew that they would not tolerate this sort of white supremacist conduct. So.
I didn't hear the story. What happened to him?
Wow. Wow. It's not long. It's just, wow. Anyone listening, it's in the archives, broadcast with Yalo Momodu, a black male in the area of the world known as Sweden. He was on, I think, April He was on the program, but there were some white students. They were having a party where white people were dressing up as slaves. Okay. And a white person asked them, what they were doing, and the guy said, "I'm dressed up like a nigger." And our guest, Mr. Momodou, he saw this obvious white supremacist behavior. He reported it to university officials, and in retaliation, this white student put up all these posters of a naked slave in chains, and he put our guest, Mr. Mamadou, he put his face on the body and said it was like a runaway slave report. He said, our Negro Yalo has run away, blah, blah, blah. It was a runaway slave ad, basically. And he put these all over campus. And people were coming out. They had the newspaper for the university. They did an interview, and they caught him in the process of posting these up around campus and maybe even around town. I don't know. At any rate, it became news. It was on Racism Daily and a lot of other news sites. He was on the program, and he gave. I think you can check the archives. It's in April. I think it was a very constructive program.
I did download it. I think it was a Lund party or something.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I just hadn't had a chance to listen to it. I was listening to Dr. Wellsing, everything I could get. So I'm going to listen to the Lund thing next. Okay. Thanks.
But it just goes to show, Gus, how bold these people feel that he could be out in public putting up his posters without any feeling that he could be arrested or something bad done to him, doing this stuff in broad daylight. And he, as you said, he was accosted doing it in public. Now, most people, like when you're doing stuff like graffiti or whatever, you do it on the cover of darkness because you don't want to get caught. But these people, he knew that nothing was going to happen to him, so that's why he couldn't care less.
He was practicing his religion, and he just assumed that it was everybody else was cool with it.
And he only got a suspension. He should have been expelled. Most places, you would have gotten expulsion. If a black kid would have been caught doing something like that at any school, defacing school property, they would have expelled him. They had expelled for less than that.
I bet if it would have been on some anti-sexual stuff, then I think they would have gotten expelled.
Push stuff. Because it seems that's the only time that something bad happens to you, if you say something against the gays and something against Jews.
Yeah.
Didn't they just recently give Kobe Bryant, I think, Gus, you mentioned it, $100,000 fine for saying something about homosexuals or something? I didn't hear the comment. I think I heard you talking about it.
He got fined $100,000 for calling an official during a game. He called him a faggot, and I think it was recorded. It was, if the people that were watching the game live, I think, could hear this, which is the same thing that happened with the player more recently, where he got a $50,000 fine for calling someone in the stands a faggot, and the cameras picked it up so it could be heard.
Yep, and those were both non-white players. One of them was from Chicago. I think he played for the Bulls, that said it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
So those are two non-white players that got fined heavily for saying a gay slur. And this person was actually going around defacing public property, putting up this racist stuff out here on this instructor in the school, and all he got off with was a suspension. And he's going to be right back there that I'm going to have to see this guy every day, possibly have him sitting in a class of mine to be taught. It makes no sense. He should have been expelled from school.
There is one good thing about that situation. I mean, this may sound strange, and maybe I'm incorrect, but I personally think that there's a lot of misconceptions, particularly when non-white people go and live in these European countries, Scandinavian countries, Europe, whatever. I think that it's unfortunate they have to get a painful wake-up call, but I think it's interesting that it's more proof that it's a global system, and I think non-white people in every part of the world need to understand that, and maybe the best way to understand that is for these kind of issues to come to the surface and for these kind of reports to be made, these kind of stories to be told. I think it's really important because I hear black people in the United States still never been outside the U.S., maybe to the Bahamas, talking about how much they love black people in Europe, how much usually they're talking about Scandinavian women when they talk about Scandinavia, how much they love black people. And I'm like, if you really talk to somebody that was black or a non-white person born in those countries, they got a whole different story to tell about all the racism that they endure. So these stories are tragic, but it's good. It's more proof that it's a global system, and I think that helps to solidify it as a religion rather than just a couple of bad people walking around doing the wrong thing. It's a religion, and they practice it, and they practice it in front of each other, and they all know that they practice it in front of each other. And so I just think it's good for non-white people to get this through our heads, get some fat on our heads, and accept the reality that this is a global system.
Which is the same thing that I was mentioning to him when I called into the show, because what's his name, Franz Skimbro, that was on Gus' show, his wife is from that country, from Sweden. Gus had on a Dr. Augustus White was on. His wife is from Sweden. Tiger Woods' wife is also from Sweden. And now this instructor, he's in Sweden, he's going through these racist attacks that's being directed against him. And at first, when I asked him the first question I asked him, I said, well, where is your wife from? Because he said she was Swedish. And he said, okay, because I'm assuming that when you said you were Swedish, I'm assuming you're not a white person, you're not non-white, you're a European. And you said, no, you said both her and her parents, they were all born in Sweden, but they are of Colombian extraction. And he makes it seem that, okay, well, this is their home and this is where they're from. And my whole idea is that no matter where you go on the globe, white people always look at you as not being there. You could be there for 200 years. You could have taken up residence there. This is not your home. And until we get it in our heads that this is not our home, that we don't belong there, we might be living there 2 and 3 generations out, but it's not our home, we're going to always find ourselves in this predicament that we are in. These people look at it, this is a European country. This belongs to white people, like the code name for America. America means you're of European extraction. So you claiming a title and saying that you are an American, it doesn't mean nothing because people say taking their country back.
Yeah, they don't even consider you. You could be born there, and you'd say United Kingdom. I've heard this one from several different brothers that live in the United Kingdom. They say even though they're born there, they're not considered citizens. Not really. They still think of them as foreigners.
You are never, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, anywhere in Europe, and you're a person of color, they always ask you where you're from, where are your people from.
That's what he said. Mm-hmm.
And that's what I was asking this person from Sweden that was on, where is this, because he is from West Africa, and he was saying his wife, she was born there. He said her parents were born there. And it's like pulling teeth, like he just didn't want to come up and say, okay, his wife, and he said she was a non-white female, and then he said, okay, they're from Colombia. They originally came from Colombia. And I said, okay, well, and he got all defensive about, well, they have a right to be classified or call themselves. I have no problem with what you want to call yourself. I just want to know, when white people look at you, they don't look at you as a Swede.
What do they call you? That's the important thing.
That's the thing. They all think that you're from Africa. It don't matter where you're from. You can come from any part of the globe. They always knew that because of your skin complexion, you belong to somewhere on the African continent.
Yep. Just like here, and I think I saw, just like here when they say mom's apple pie and hard-working taxpayer, use a million different words that have to do with patriotic citizen and whatever you want to come up with. There's no non-white people included in that definition of what a so-called average American, what do you call it, mainstream America, whatever you want to call it. So you got 15 different terms. They're not thinking about non-white people. They don't care how long you've been here. So.
It is true, because look at those so-called Europeans that go to the African continent and other parts of the globe. Soon as a civil war or some kind of civil disturbance happens, they pack their bags and they head back to their mother country. They know they have a mother country to go back to.
You know, a lot of wealthy, I don't know if they're wealthy, but a lot of white people with money here in the U.S. are going back to their quote-unquote native countries because, you know, they're taking their money and some of them giving up their citizenship because really it's almost like America's like a fire sale now. And they really don't care about this country because it's not really their country. Their real country is Europe. So that might explain some of the callousness and some of the disregard for the American economy and some other things because they don't really consider this their, you know, this is not a country that they particularly care about, I don't think.
But the entire system is going to collapse because the way how we live in this global system, when they collapse the money, is going to have a triple effect around the world because that's what they're trying to do. As we can see with all of these wars that they're trying to do, they're trying to put the whole planet under European domination.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what they're doing. And put you under one currency, one ruling government, because that's where the United Nations comes in. The United Nations is going to be the ruling arm. Because as you can see, anytime people go to the United Nations, you don't get any justice, except if you're European. Then you get some justice from the UN. But if you're a non-white nation and you go there, you get absolutely nothing.
Well, what better
counter-racist, I just wanted to, counter-racist codification. The planet is already under a one-world government, the system of white supremacy. I think I just heard you said the goal is to bring the planet under European domination. I have concluded that already exists, system of white supremacy. Yeah, I would just tell folks, I make an effort to make sure I don't get confused when folks get off into, I just keep that at system of white supremacy. One world government, already got it, system of white supremacy. I could be incorrect. I did want to make sure I got in because I spoke with the female today, the non-white female in the area of the world known as India. She had an article. I'll put it on my Facebook page, and I'll tweet it. I'll tweet it and I'll put it on my Facebook page. But she did what's not great. She revealed truth in this report about white supremacy in the area of the world known as India, and she was talking about how black people are treated really poorly when they go out. And I think they went to a bunch of different bars, and to illustrate that this is not just one place, that this is, you know, a pattern of abuse of black people, anti-blackness again. But yeah, she is, I believe, a non-white, non-black person, and she said she was down to come on the program. So I think that'll be great. I know some folks had talked about, you know, hearing more about racism, white supremacy in India. Has anybody, I guess, did anybody see that article? It was recent. I don't know if did anybody catch that article?
No. What publication was it in?
It's in an Indian newspaper. Yeah, I will. I'm looking for the link so I can put it on my Facebook page now. Yeah, once I pull it up, I'll share the name of the link for folks once I pull it up here.
It doesn't surprise me, but I correct myself. When I was saying that under a global system, I mean in terms of those non-whites who are still under the assumption that they have some sort of control between the Chinese and the Africans and the different regions, still have control of their particular area. When I say global control, I mean to say that the white people are going to exert it and finally publicize it more openly that they are running things by collapsing the money and everything else and showing you that you're going to report to us.
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, on 909, is that you?
Yep.
Oh, hey, yeah.
I was watching a martial arts film from India with another victim, and I was telling her, that it, they had the star and his female co-star, and then you had the I guess they call it a male co-star. Now the male co-star, he was dark skinned, and he was he was very very strong, very skilled, and the star, he was one of those Indians that it looked, and the co-star of now like the female, she looked like she lightened her skin. So when I observed that, I told her, I said, the dark skin male, I said, he's gonna die. They're gonna kill him, even though he's the most skilled and the most handsome. He's gonna die. And she was like, how you know? Blah blah blah. We were discussing it, and I was like, because you can. I said, because of the racism, white supremacy, the global system, he has to die because of being dark skinned and beautiful. And sure enough, he died. Saving the lighter, Indian that looked like, his skin was had been lightened. I mean, she was like, wow, she was like, you called it. It was just interesting to, for her to see that before 45 minutes of the movie, I was saying these things and she wasn't believing me, but it came, it happened, and she was like, wow, and I think when you understand, like I said, the global system and the dynamics, you'll start understanding what they're trying to say. This propaganda. Now you have like non-white people. They're making this propaganda. They're putting, so black people really, the racist white supremacists are doing it. It's their warfare, but they're making it so black people have nowhere, where you're gonna go. You're hated all, we're going to make people hate you all over the world. There's nowhere for you to go. There's no help that you can get. There's nobody you can call. No other non-white people. We're going to, we're going to make sure that you're hated all over the world.
And you're right, because you see it already in this video. They were talking about a controversy about Rihanna, her music video that she has, where she has killed someone in one of her videos that they have on her, one of her latest videos. This black female had committed murder in our music videos. And I keep saying, like I tell my nieces, I said, when y'all are doing these things and y'all are putting these videos and these things about yourself, they last forever. 50 years from now, your grandchildren are going to be pulling up these things and looking at it. Are you going to be proud for your grandkids to see, well, damn, my granny was doing stuff like this?
Mm-hmm. I was rocking Bathing Apes in a System of White Supremacy. We have about 2 minutes left in the program. The newspaper article is BangaloreMirror.com. BangaloreMirror.com, or that's the name of the publication. And it seems the non-white female, I'm not going to but Miss Kumar, she has written quite a few reports on racism, white supremacy. The report that I saw that I, made the initial inquiry about is titled Pubs and Bars Bar Blacks. Pubs and Bars Bar Blacks. I will put it on my Facebook page and I'll tweet it. And we have about 2 minutes left in the program. We'll be back tomorrow at late Friday, 1 a.m. If you're on the East Coast, 10 p.m. Tomorrow evening. Black male joining us live from China. 2 minutes left. Replace white supremacy with justice. Feel free to get out anything in the last two.
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
lately I've been watching Eyes on the Prize, as Dr. Welsing suggested, and it has been very, very, very constructive. I mean, just to really see the dignity and the pride. Oh, man, powerful, powerful. So I just want to share, please go get Eyes on the Prize and watch it, seriously. I'm sorry.
I was going to ask if you saw the part where the white guy called the NAACP niggers, apes, alligators, coons, and possums.
Oh, man. That was hard. That was hard to take. I actually just got done watching Disc 3, and they were marching in, I believe, Selma, and they got stopped by the cops, and the cop was going head-to-head with the non-white male, and the non-white male was so confident in what he was saying. He was just following logic, and it was just powerful.
We can do that right now. We can do that right now. It's not that hard.
Exactly.
Justices, flute playing. How can I hear that? Gus.
Download this program.
Oh,
that's the easy one.
Okay.
Download this program. It'll be at the very beginning. Context of White Supremacy, signing out.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.